Hello everyone, my name is David Smith and I am the Chief Officer of UK charity 15 Square, and it's my great pleasure to introduce our ambassador Lesley Roberts, who is going to tell you the tragic story of her son's who took his own life following a circumcision. Thank you very much, Lesley.
Thank you, David. Guten Tag und vielen Dank, dass Sie mich eingeladen haben, Alex' Geschichte zu erzählen. I wish I wasn't here, David. I don't want to be the mum of a dead son, a member of the club no parent wishes to join. Alex was much loved, intelligent and witty, kind, reserved, sensitive, an expert skier. A handsome 6'2", 23-year-old who took his own life just over 3 years and 5 months ago. I don't want to be talking publicly about things like foreskin, circumcision, coffin, funeral, ashes, but this is my new reality following Alex's circumcision and subsequent suicide. Alex was born in July 94 following several years of fertility treatment during my first marriage. The day he was born was truly the happiest day of my life. You can imagine what my worst was. Alex was a happy, quiet little boy who loved his younger brother Thomas, born 3 years later, followed by James during my second marriage. Tom was 20 when Alex died, and James was 10. At 14, Alex went to Canada on a school skiing trip and fell in love with the country and its beauty and wilderness. He developed a passion for skiing, deferred his university place to study English, age 18, and instead went to Canada, making many friends, working, skiing, mountain boarding, and cycling, which was his lifelong passion. He called me after a year and said, "Mum, I'm deferring my place at university for another year. I love it here. I've had promotion at work." And unsurprisingly, this happened the following year. At the time of his death, Alex had lived in Canada for 5 years, had become a Canadian resident, and I have no doubt would have become a citizen too. We created many happy memories visiting Alex in Canada, and those spent with just Alex and me are my most especially treasured. Tragically, and unbeknown to anyone at home or in Canada, Alex was suffering. Sadly, I did not see the signs, and when I came close, accepted his false reassurances as he hid his pain so well from everyone. Alex was suffering from phimosis, a painful condition that I had never even heard of until that torturous night of his death. At 21, Alex had gone to his GP and was referred to a urologist. He wrote that the surgeon assured him that circumcision was a routine procedure and would cure his painful condition. His laptop had broken and he was uncomfortable researching this in the public library, so decided to put his trust in the surgeon and proceeded with the surgery, despite his unease with the surgeon. Alex wrote that he knew immediately that this had been a catastrophic mistake. He sought advice from other doctors and healthcare professionals over the next 2 years and took his own life, aged 23. He had lost all hope of being free of the chronic pain and dysfunction that now blighted him. One Saturday in November 2017, at 7 p.m, there was a knock on the door at my home in Cheshire, UK. The policeman asked if I was Lesley Roberts and told me my son was dead. I fell to the floor screaming, my heart breaking into millions of pieces. That evening, I received Alex's last loving email, together with his public words, from which I will now quote. The following is information that I wish to share to provide an account of my personal experience of circumcision. I hope it may raise awareness in parents considering this for their children and inform adults finding themselves in a similar situation. If my experience can benefit anyone, then my opinions will have served their purpose. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. For several years, I suffered with a tight foreskin. I did not perceive it as a true medical issue until I researched and discovered the diagnosis phimosis that was responsible for my symptoms. I consulted a doctor who suggested stretching the foreskin using a steroid cream. I was under the false impression that the cream alone would facilitate the stretching. I was poorly instructed about how to do this. I was previously unaware of these stretching techniques and that the use of expander rings would also be necessary for it to be effective. A few weeks later, I went back to the doctor in the belief that the stretching was not working. He suggested a circumcision. I believe that he demonstrated the common medical misconception that a full circumcision for phimosis is best practice. My research into the alternative treatments other than circumcision and the potential consequences of the operation were insufficiently comprehensive. I had partially accepted the doctor's view about the procedure. I did inquire more of the surgeon about stretching and less destructive procedures such as protupioplasty, which preserves the healthy foreskin and its function, but was met with a very negative response. I was trusting of his authoritative opinion in my desperation to resolve my problem. I did not appreciate then that skin expansion may well have succeeded if performed correctly. Retrospectively, I believe that the doctor did not discuss in sufficient depth all other possible treatment options available to me. Had I been given such information, I may have chosen a different option. At least I would have been able to have considered the information and come to a balanced, reflective decision. I feel that I went into this surgery with insufficient information and was not helped to make an informed choice. If I had then chosen surgical circumcision, at least I would have been aware of the potential problems. A combination of trust in the authority of doctors, and euphemistic terminology, desperation to resolve a tight foreskin, and poor information pushed me to accept the circumcision. I felt the topic was taboo and not appropriate to discuss with others around me. This may be due to individual factors within myself and my introverted personality, but I believe is also due to societal factors about such subjects. I think that the negative effects of circumcision that some men suffer from is not well recognised. These men are largely misunderstood by society and also medical professionals. As someone who has suffered such negative effects and who regrets having a circumcision, I know exactly what these feelings and experiences are. I have been left in a permanent state of chastity, tension, and emotional imbalance. The realities are horrific. I believe this topic must be discussed with more honesty, with medical accuracy, and full acknowledgement of all effects caused by this procedure. All potential patients should routinely participate in detailed, fully informed consent before surgery, so that they can live with the consequences should there be a poor outcome. Within days of the circumcision, I began to have serious regrets. The doubts I had beforehand that were silenced by the doctor's advice had unfortunately become true. Nature knows best. How can removing a section of healthy tissue improve upon nature's evolved design? That certain doubts concerned me prior to surgery, yet I still consented to it, demonstrates that the information that circumcision is a correct and a beneficial treatment for phimosis is not the case. Other options should have been discussed. The consequential physical effects I have suffered from circumcision have proved jarring. I constantly experience an agonizing stimulation of the glans and frenulum area from my clothing, which has not subsided significantly over time. I liken this to the experience that one would suffer if one's eye would be subject to removal of its eyelid. Wishing for desensitization to develop for a reduction to this constant low-level stimulation ultimately means less desired sensitivity when needed. Doctors informed me that the glands would function successfully without the foreskin. In reality, this is not true. The Meissner's corpuscles and other erotogenic nerve endings present within the foreskin and frenulum are responsible for sexual reflexes that cannot be triggered from the glands alone. The foreskin also has a secondary function of protecting the glands and keeping it moist. Once removed, the glands becomes dry, keratinized, and significantly decreased in sensitivity. I have experienced 2 years of uncomfortable sensations from the scar in the area of my frenulum and erectile dysfunction. All of this is despite being told to expect a maximum 6-month recovery. Where I once had a sexual organ, I have been left with a numb stick, a nightmare predicament, my sexuality in tatters, torturous to me, and has given me insomnia. Although difficult to quantify, I would suggest that I've been stripped of 75% of the sensitivity in my penis. The pleasure my body should provide is all but gone, instead replaced with permanent discomfort and subsequent angst. Whole body orgasms have become a distant memory, an unattainable state. A huge amount of passion has been removed from my life. It has fundamentally changed the person I am in a host of negative ways. The lack of knowledge and respect for the functions of the foreskin and other tissue removed in circumcision is a widespread concern, not appreciated enough. Circumcision should not be regarded as a minor procedure that removes a piece of unnecessary tissue, but as a destructive procedure that can have very negative physical and emotional consequences. I was a consenting adult at the time of the procedure, and therefore substantial responsibility lies within myself. However, it must not be overlooked that this procedure was advocated by medical professionals. Prior to the surgery, I had inquired with the doctor whether sensitivity would be lost. He assured me that in his experience, there was no loss in sensitivity. I found this unrealistic even before I understood the true level of the loss of pleasurable sensation that there ultimately was. This was another example of misguided information that haunts me daily. The phrase, "trust your instincts," regrettably resonates with me. Every year, millions of males that are circumcised are robbed of the fundamental, primitive experiences intended by nature. Childhood victims of circumcision will tragically never be able to fully comprehend what has been taken from them. Unnecessary circumcision, I feel, is a vicious circle of violence that must be halted. It is a travesty that this practice continues in the 21st century. The combined physical and emotional discomfort of circumcision has transformed my life into one where internal peace is absent. Maintaining dignity and composure has proved difficult. It has become ever increasingly apparent how extensive the damage to my body has been and the impact this has had on my life. The physical discomfort is so prominent that it is always at the forefront of my mind. The severity of the daily physical sensations that bombard my body are difficult to put into words. Intact genitals are a human right. I found it surreal and crushing that I was, for a short period, ashamedly convinced to deny this to myself. My experiences have motivated me to share the message to conserve this fundamental human right for others. The removal of healthy bodily tissue should never be promoted. I have sought professional psychological therapy, including from sexual health professors, but the damage caused by surgery has proved too enormous for any emotional support to rectify. Science has not yet advanced to enable the regrowth or replacement of such removed tissue and restoration of its function. There is no true medical solution for these issues. The consequences have cast a dark shadow on my life. I once lived in colour, but now I exist in monochrome. No therapy has alleviated this shadow because it cannot address the physical symptoms at the root cause of the issue. The fallout from circumcision has gradually constricted the life out of my soul. I have become an empty shell, yearning to feel human and alive, but physically unable, trapped as a refugee within my own body. Emotionally, I'm unable to live in internal peace or human dignity. I will be in a state of peace at the time of publishing this. I wish flourishment to all who read this. For any distress caused to others because of my death, I'm remorseful, as it is not my intention to inflict any suffering. However, hopefully, progression will be achieved in medicine and society to prevent and eradicate this unnecessary and inhumane mutilation from being inflicted on others in future. Upon hearing the news of Alex's death, I became largely silent and found solace in writing. My only release from the darkness and pain engulfing me. Those words I wrote, together with Alex's, have evolved into a book that I'm now near to completing. If my beloved son's tragic story can help save the life of one other man and spare any other parent from experiencing the living hell of choosing a coffin for their child, then I will have achieved something in Alex's memory. Time is not a healer. Grief is eternal when you lose a child. Time has made me accept grief will always be by my side. I will never recover from losing Alex. And together with his two brothers, we will miss him forever. In sharing Alex's story, I'm reminded of a book I have recently read Schindler's Ark by Thomas Keneally. Later to be turned into the brilliant film Schindler's List. It's sad when Schindler is chastising himself for not saving more of his workers. His accountant, Ishtak Stern, consoled him by quoting the Jewish Talmud. He who saves one life saves the world entire. If my darling Alex's story can help save one life, then he will not have died in vain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lesley. I think the fact that Alex left such a detailed account, nobody can argue with. We've had many who have taken their own lives in the past, and unfortunately, they have never left quite the story Alex did. And their inquests, it's been rubbished, and basically the cause of death has gone down as something else. And I think it's a very powerful testimony. And it certainly helped a lot. It certainly helped us as an organisation, because I think it's making people aware that apart from the fact that the medical profession need to learn a lot of lessons, also the counselling and psychotherapy services also need how to deal with this specific issue.
Yeah,
very often it's just pushed under the carpet, and we have so many men say they have professional help, and the person they go to just does not understand, and the meeting ends very abruptly. It's one of the things I've been trying to do for 20 years, and I'll probably be doing it for a little longer, but I think times are changing, and I think Alex's story is really, really going to help us in that change. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. It is going to be quoted verbatim, all of the words in the book, which will have the same title as I've used today, A is for Alex, a mother's heartbreak following her son's suicide, and fingers crossed should be out within the next few months.
Okay, that early. So thank you very much also for this information, because I just wanted to give the question to you. So we've come to the end of your presentation for the Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy 2021. I think this has been one of the most moving moments we can imagine.
Oh, Alex would be very proud. Thank you very much. Thank you, Victor.
So see you both, and all the best. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Victor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.